Hello, my fellow geeks. Welcome to episode number 55 of the Indian App Geek. My name is Vishal Mehra. Today's episode is all about a man who's seen it all in Indian aviation and then some. Meet Arun Kumar Singh, the president and CEO of TezJet, whose resume reads like a greatest hits album of Indian aviation's most ambitious ventures. From the glamorous days of Jet Airways to the maverick energy of Kingfisher, the scrappy resilience of Air Deccan, and the bold ambitions of IndiaOne Air, Arun has been in the cockpit through booms, busts, and everything in between. Now he's taking his hard earned wisdom and aviation DNA across borders to lead TezJet, a Kyrgyzstan-based airline which is starting operations to Delhi in the next few days. If anyone knows how to navigate turbulent skies and chart unconventional routes, it's this guy. Welcome to the Indian App Geek, Arun.
Thank you for having me, Vishal.
Arun, what got you interested in aviation in the first place?
People may expect a very exciting and motivating kind of answer, but that's not the reality. The reality is the opportunity presented itself. I was in my last year of graduation, and it just so happened that I got to know that in my hometown there is a walk-in interview going on for Jet Airways. I showed up there. There were close to 1,000 people for 10 vacancies, and somehow I was the most inexperienced, no job experience, still in college, and somehow I ended up getting the job. And then I liked the job that I started doing. It's not that I liked aviation and then I got into it. No, I started working first. I started enjoying it. I got good into it, and then I stayed there and I never left the industry.
And that city was Varanasi, right?
Varanasi, that's correct.
All right. So you've been at Jet, of course. You've been at Kingfisher with Basaka Air, Air Deccan, India One, and now, of course, with TezJet.
That's
Anything
correct.
remarkable to share from these experiences?
So I'll go by airline. Jet Airways was a great institution, at least till 2008, 2009. I left Jet Airways in 2005. They had, they used to plan very meticulously, both a short term, a mid term, and a long term plan. They always used to have in place and very good follow through. They had an excellent management team back those days. The senior leadership was very experienced and very capable, and they were all empowered. So the delegation of authority was absolutely fantastic. The decisions used to be taken inside the boardroom in a very professional manner. That's how Jet was. It was a great institution to learn from, because what Mr. Goel did very nicely, and the board of directors also, full marks to them. They were picked up, aviation experts were picked up from different parts of the world. And they brought in a lot of know-how into the company, organization, and the knowledge transfer was absolutely fantastic. So the way the board mentored and coached the senior leadership, and the way the C-suite and the senior leadership passed on that knowledge and the expertise into the second in command was very nice. Jet actually taught me, it was a process-driven organization till then. Jet actually taught me what needs to be done, what are the right things that should be done. Fast forward to Kingfisher, it was more a person-dependent organization rather than a board-driven organization. One of the best brands that in aviation that people can think of. Great branding, great service, great quality. However, decisions were ad hoc. So Kingfisher essentially taught me things that one should not do in an airline. So I learned both ends of the spectrum in a short span of 12 years.
Wow. And how was your time at Air Deccan and India One?
Air Deccan, so interestingly, Air Deccan has been sold 2 times in its entire existence. Once when Air Deccan started 2003, the airline, it got so acquired in 2007 or 8 by Kingfisher. And second time it started, I don't remember the exact year, but it was acquired in 2018 or 19 by the Adani family. Now, interestingly, both the times I was representing the purchaser or the new investor. First on Kingfisher side, so I did the due diligence on Air Deccan. Will not get into what the recommendations were, but yes, I was camping in Bangalore with another gentleman, and we went to every nooks and corners of the airline. And we all know what happened. Kingfisher was shut down in 2008. There was a reverse merger that happened, and so on and so forth. And the surviving entity was Air Deccan, which was rebranded as Kingfisher. Second time on, it came in a smaller avatar. And this time I joined hands with Mr. Gautam Adani's family and who had invested into Air Deccan. And it got grounded for what a lot of legacy reasons. And that is the time I came on board. And my first job was to resurrect the airline, which I did. But it had a lot of legacy issues. So we decided to, we were thinking of getting out of Air Deccan and starting our own airline, independent of Air Deccan, which was IndiaOne Air. So in 2019 itself, when I joined, few months after joining, we had applied for a fresh NOC, and unfortunately, COVID happened the next year, so we couldn't see through the AOC process. But then eventually, we got the AOC back in 2022, and we had got out of Air Deccan right the day first lockdown was announced.
You spent years at Jet Airways and Kingfisher, airlines that offered premium service but ultimately folded. Now you run lean operations. Is there anything that golden era of Indian aviation service that you believe is missing today and that you try to implement at TezJet, even as a value carrier?
Let me first point out something that people keep on talking about: premium service. There is no premium service. Unless you are traveling the first class of Emirates or a Singapore airline, there is nothing premium about a legacy carrier. It's the same aircraft. We are not giving you any fancy seats with, crocodile leather cover or, a Louis Vuitton kind of thing. Nothing. It's just exactly the same. The only difference is how much of care do you give to your passengers? Now, I keep on telling this to all my people, saying that the cabin crew, the ground staff, all the contact points, we don't have to get, a Chanel perfume and give it to the passenger. The passenger is definitely not traveling with us for that. We are not in the business. None of the airlines are in the business of luxury. Let's first understand this. We are not in the business of transportation also. We are in the business of saving time. Modes of transport from Bombay to Delhi, you'll find three other alternate modes of transport. You can go there by train, you can go by a bus, you can go by a car, you can walk, or you can go by motorcycle. The only difference that an airline brings is you save time for the passenger for the same distance travel, right? Now, the only place where good airlines make a difference is you care for those people. And the message to my people is that treat the passenger as if it's your own mother, father, or wife, or your family member, or your brother or sister. If it is right for them, then please do it. If you would not do it for your own family, please do not give that treatment to the customer. This is something which is missing in the airlines today. We are just too much focused on on-time performance, leave people behind. 1 kg excess baggage on the hand baggage is overweight by 1 kg. From 7 to 8 kg, you breathe down on the neck of a customer as if he has committed a huge crime, and then you look at the passenger as if he's a criminal and you have to reprimand the customer. That's not right. Think if your own father or mother or your sister is traveling and they have to carry some essentials, and if it's over by 1 kg, the aircraft is not going to come down, or I'm not going to build $100 million net worth just by that 1 kg. All right, let it go. Treat them, respectfully. Be graceful about it. That's what Jet and Kingfisher did, which is something missing today. I mean, I'll share my personal experience, Vishal. I'm very fond of carrying nice luggage. I'm scared of carrying my stroller into an airline, a particular airline in India, because if they snatch it from me and put it in the hold, that $1,500 trolley is going to come out scratched everywhere. I don't do that. I avoid that airline particularly because of this experience. So the difference is not the premium or the expensive stuff we are throwing in. We at airline, we cannot throw expensive stuff at people. It's just how you receive the passengers. It's just how much you can relate with the genuine problems of the passenger and you stand there to resolve it.
Arun, you were the man behind IndiaOne Air, proving that a single engine scheduled airline could work in India's UDAN scheme. Now you're leading an international jet carrier. What's the biggest culture shock in moving from the hyper regulated, subsidy driven regional market of India to the international aviation market of Central Asia?
So the culture shock is, or the cultural difference, I would say, I would probably not use the word shock. I've worked in several countries, so every country has its own working style. They have their own work culture. So to that extent, there is a difference between the working style of Indian bureaucrats, Indian professionals versus Central Asian bureaucrats and professionals. Certain things, if I compare to India, India is much ahead in terms of adopting to international regulations. So let's say standards put by IATA and ICAO. India is way ahead of that. And the government of the present day and the yesteryears have done a fantastic job in bringing India closer to the international standards. The workmanship has improved quite significantly in the past 3 decades in India. And the talent pool has also improved quite a lot. That is a struggle that I find in a market in Central Asia, where we still have a lot of work to do to bring the entire Central Asian region, the aviation in Central Asian region, up to the standards of, let's say, an EASA or a FA. That is a big difference that I've noticed. Talking about the the regulated market, every market in the world of aviation is regulated. It's not only in India. All countries are signatories of ICAO, so we have to follow those standards. We cannot make our own standards. The only difference being in India, what has happened is there is an additional layer of regulation for Pan-India Airlines, that the entire country is divided into 4 categories. You call it route dispersal guideline, and you have to operate under the ambit of route dispersal guideline. In US they have TSA. In India we have BCAS and the CRPF, the CISF, who is doing the security at the airport. So it's exactly the same. One big problem in India is that the bureaucratic procedures are very lengthy. The process takes a lot of time, which is something that we have to change in the years to come. Otherwise, aviation cannot expand. There are unnecessary procedures, duplicate procedures. A lot of paperwork is required. Still, even after the lot of improvement that has been done in the past 10 years. That is something that we are lacking.
You have achieved something unprecedented. India's first scheduled single engine aircraft AOC with Cessna Caravans. From a pure operations standpoint, what would have been the regulatory and safety challenges the DGCA threw at you, Arun? And more importantly, how did you convince them that this was even possible?
It is not the matter of convincing. I must give the credit when it's due. The DGCA was absolutely fantastic, especially the FSD team. They were very, very good. They actually approached the entire subject with a very open mind. There was no precedence in the country that an airline with a single engine aircraft can operate. It's not a matter of single engine. Now, let me give you a small example. after 9/11, it was made mandatory for all the aircraft to have a cockpit door surveillance system, and the cockpit doors were reinforced so that there is no sabotage. All right, it's a very simple logical thing to do. Now the problem with my aircraft is that I don't have a cockpit door. Forget the surveillance system. There is no cockpit door. So there are captain and the co-pilot sitting, and right behind them are passengers. Now, how do you go around that regulation? Now, obviously, you cannot issue an STC and put a cockpit door because that's not a part of the original design. That was one of the issues. The second issue is that in case of an engine failure, where do you land? With single engine schedule operations in the night is not permitted. So when we got the AOC, only day operations were permitted. Well, we worked on the regulation. The DGCA did change the regulation from day. They also started permitting schedule operations in the night. I worked on it, but the approval came shortly after I left, few months after I left. It was there in the pipeline for years. So the DGCA actually, especially the FSD team and the safety team, they worked with us. They sat down with our pilots, our safety people, me being there, and they said, okay, why don't you draft a procedure for, let's say, if there is an engine failure, then where will you land? Because you don't have a second engine. How are you going to safely land? So you did an entire survey of the route from point A to B where the aircraft is going, saying that, okay, fine, you have to find out where the water bodies are, where empty fields are. And in your operating manual, you have to spot out the areas where you can land in case of an engine failure. In case of the cockpit and the safety, said, fine, we will, do XYZ things in the aircraft so that the passengers cannot overpower a captain. So small thing like, the pilot should not be wearing a tie with a normal tie. It should be a tie with a hook, so you cannot be strangulated. So there are small things, steps that we took. Even DGCA did not have an answer to a lot of things because this was never done in the country. So with the safety team, with the FSD, the operations team, we sat and they changed a couple of regulations. They asked us to put procedures, and with the collective teamwork only we could get. It was not convincing or me pushing them and things like that. Probably that's the incorrect way to put this. It was a collective teamwork which happened between the operator and the DGCA.
The economics must be very tough. I'm guessing of Cessna
Very
Caravan,
bad,
tiny
very bad,
planes, thin
very
margins,
bad,
weather
very bad,
delays, short runway limitations. Can you walk
very
me
bad.
through some unit economics? What was your cost per available seat kilometer, and how does that compare to ATRs or Q400s for that matter?
The smaller the airplane, this thumb rule, the higher the cask and the rascal. I mean, there's no. I'm not adding to a knowledge if I tell you that. So to give you an idea, an airline like Indigo, their cost would be around 5 rupees, 5.5 rupees, depending upon where they are operating. If you compare it to an operator of the likes who has only purely ATR, their cost will be around 12, 13 rupees. Yeah. In IndiaOne Air, our cost was 20 plus. So yeah, it's very, very high. I mean, one may say that, okay, these are cheaper aircraft. No, but my unit cost of operation is phenomenally high because the engines, first of all, the engines, let's say in an 320, an engine cost of an engine would be around 8 million, $9 million, a brand new engine, but your engine runs for 20,000 hours. Compare it to a Cessna Grand Caravan, the engine time between overhauls is just 3,600 to 4,000 hours. Yeah. So your life is also less. And after your engine removal, you got to send them to a different country altogether. The aircraft are grounded. So if you start comparing it with a 320, which is a 8, 9, $10 million engine, but it carries 180 passenger. If I were to compare a cost of an engine on a Cessna, it is a fraction of the price, but then my seats are also 9. So if you compare the cost per seat per flight, it's much more expensive than a 320, phenomenally high. The arithmetic does not work out. I'll tell you something openly. If there was no Udan scheme, there is no way this would have worked. Absolutely no chance. So it's only because of Udan scheme, couple of airlines are surviving, IndiaOne Air being one of them. On standalone, it does not make economic sense. De Havilland Canada, you talked about Twin Otter. It's an expensive aircraft, $8 million for a unit. You take the $8 million aircraft, you have to charge the customer for a stage length of 1.5 hours around $100 to $150. Now, my question is, who's going to pay you $150 in a country like India for a 1.5 hour flight? It's not going to happen. Where your alternate mean of transport, a railway, you can travel for 700, 800 rupees in an air condition. Why are you going to pay 12,000 rupees? So the math just does not work out. But the same Twin Otter works very well in Maldives because your alternate mode of transport is not there at all. I mean, you cannot sit on a boat and go.
IndiaOne Air just signed a letter of intent at the 2025 Dubai Air Show to acquire up to 10 de Havilland Canada Twin Otter aircraft. I read somewhere you started IndiaOne with about 2 crores or so. Is that correct?
Around five. The
Around 5.
OPEX was around five, actually under 5 crores. The paid up capital was much higher, but we
Yeah.
ran a very, very tight ship.
All right. TezJet also seems to run on a very disciplined, lean business model. Do you think the Indian aviation market has forgotten the art of frugality in its chase for market share? And what lessons from your startup days are you applying to TezJet right now?
Two parts. One, Indian market has forgotten the art of frugality. I would not single out India. Everywhere people have forgotten the art of being cost conscious. I wouldn't call it frugality. We end up spending on things that we don't need. A fancy, swanky office, and with huge boardrooms, uh, business class travel for everyone, and so on and so forth. We don't need that. I mean, to give you an example, I purchased all the 3 aircraft for IndiaOne Air. You know how many trips I made to places like Air Show in Dubai and making announcements or going to US? Zero. I did that everything sitting from my office. Why do I need to spend money to go when I can ask the guy to come to meet me? He's selling the aircraft. Why do I need to go and meet him? Why do I need a photo op? Why do you have to go and spend $300, $400 per night in a hotel? I mean, is it necessary business wise? Absolutely not. When I can achieve the same results sitting in my office, why do I have to travel? Now, we are spending money on unnecessary things. One may say that, okay, this is being miser. Well, I would say that I'm just spending the money at the right places. We have spent a lot of money in getting technology for my present company, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that's generating cash for me in return. It's not sunken cost.
So what lessons from your startup days you're applying now at TezJet?
Well, we spend money where it is necessary. Where it's not necessary, we don't spend money. So if I spend a dollar, I expect something in return. Whether it's a direct money coming back, or my brand recall value is going high, or my brand value is strengthening, or it is giving some comfort to the customer or to the employees. That is when we spend money. Otherwise, we don't spend money.
This is a perfect time also to congratulate you and your team. Next week, you start flying Bishkek, Delhi, Bishkek.
Thank you, sir.
That's fantastic news. A new airline for the Delhi airport as well. So I'm sure they must be happy. Aero Nomad already operating on this sector and established hubs like an Almaty nearby. What's the specific gap in the market that you are looking to fill? Is it purely price or is there a service differentiation as well, Arun?
So there are two things that we are trying to achieve. Yes, the gap that exists right now is that the distribution of the existing airlines is subpar. So if I'm a student and I have to go to India, the tickets were priced at $250 one way for a 3 hour flight. With us coming in, the price point has come down from a $250 to around $150. So now the customer has a choice, and we still make money. It's not that I'm doing charity. The customer has a choice. So the route is no longer monopolized. He has a choice. A person who is studying, and I've met students who have lived here for 4 years, never gone back because it's so expensive. And now these are the same students who would want to go back annually. There are 15,000 Indian students in Bishkek. That's one part of the problem. That's one approach. The second approach on the other side is to increase the travel between both the countries. So there are medical students and there are laborers coming from India for doing construction work over here. But that's the only traffic that exists. Very few tourists come over here. Now, where we are putting an effort is to create awareness about Kyrgyzstan as a destination, tourism destination, and promote it amongst Indians so that more Indians can come in. There is a bottleneck there for visa requirement. We have taken it up to the highest offices in the country, both the countries, both in India and in Kyrgyzstan. And we are requesting for reviewing the visa norms for Indian citizens. The second is promoting India as a healthcare destination for Kyrgyz citizens. So India is a big hub for healthcare tourism, and a lot of Kyrgyz citizens go over there. So we have spoken to the the Indian bureaucrats for issuing the visa the same day for medical tourism, and the response from both the sides has been very welcoming. We are hopeful that next year they'll take some positive steps. Indian government is already issuing visa the same day. They have already started doing that. We are hopeful that in the coming year, the Kyrgyz government also would review it and take the step in the right direction. So we are not only filling in the gap, but we are also trying to create a new demand.
What's your target load factor? What kind of load factors are you targeting?
Obviously, any CEO would target for 100%.
And what kind of response you're seeing right now?
Response is not that encouraging, but then we have to be very patient. I mean, to give an example, when I started Tashkent, so between Bishkek and Tashkent, there is huge amount of traffic that goes, but only one airline used to operate from Bishkek to Tashkent, and that was Uzbekistan Airways. Airlines tried from here, they all failed. All of them, 100% they failed. When we started last year, our first international flight from Bishkek to Tashkent, response was terrible. We lost money hand over fist for first 7 months. But then we maintained the consistency. We made sure we don't cancel flights. We depart on time and increase our distribution. We matched the price. We were very aggressive in our distribution and pricing. And I'm happy to tell you that in 7 months' time, we were able to turn around a loss-making venture into a profit-making venture. Earlier, if you have to go from Bishkek to Tashkent, 1 hour, 10-minute flight, sometimes the fare would be $400. I have personally paid that money
And
on in economy class.
that is when there was a monopoly on the route.
That's correct.
Hmm.
Now you can travel under $100 and we still make money. So it's good for customer. It's good for both the airlines. We're still making money. Now there are 3 airlines operating, Centrum, Uzbekistan Airways, and us. So the same way we spent a lot of effort, time, energy, money into developing the market. Now we're doing the same with the Indian market. We are also present in Moscow, as you call it. So Moscow also, we started our operations in August. So there also same thing. We are trying to stimulate some traffic and generate additional demand. So far, response has been good. It's just the lean season, but Delhi is going to take time, but we'll get there.
Best wishes to you and your team for that, Varun. Our listeners will immediately notice your unique fleet. I certainly did, operate the MD-83 and the Avro's RJ85. Classic aircraft, very rare in skies and, even in Indian skies. How does the economics of operating these older yet robust jets compared to the 320s or the 737s that are flying around. Is the MD-83 the primary workhorse for the Delhi leg? Is that going to be your aircraft for some time
Yes,
to come?
that's correct. So we are aware that the fleet is aging, and well, first the positive side, you'll hear a lot of negatives about the aircraft because it's old and it's expensive on fuel. We all know that. On a positive side, we own the aircraft, so I don't have to pay any lease rental to anybody. So capital cost is zero. So that's one positive for me. Secondly, these are workhorses. They're absolutely built like tanks, not like today's aircraft, which is so much loaded with technology, something or the other keeps on breaking apart. It's in a way it's cheaper to fix because there are a lot lesser things to fix. Uh, in terms of engine has become a big issue in the last 5 years. In the past 5 years, because of the powder metal issue coming on 320s and because of other production issues in Boeing, the problem has percolated down to aircraft, narrow body aircraft of older vintage, and also to the other aircraft as well. So even things like an Embraer or a CRJ, they're not available in the market because people who cannot get those aircraft are going into different aircraft now. So the pressure has come into the entire industry where one aircraft comes out of lease. There are 15 LOIs on this. So that has become an issue. However, on the engine side, on RJ, I've got 4 engines mounted on RJ and 2 on the MD. Engines are very difficult to overhaul or do an LLP replacement. However, we have good partners that we work with in UK and US, and we have a steady supply of the engine overhaul and the repairs that keep on coming in, including a field service representative that visit us over here. There are challenges, but then there are challenges for engine worldwide on any aircraft that you pick up now, especially narrow bodies. Is it expensive? Yes, it is. But compared to a 320, my cost per available seat kilometer for an engine is much lower. Fuel-wise, I'm 20% more expensive. I'll tell you that. So a Bishkek-Delhi aeronomad flies with a 320, they'll burn 20% lesser fuel than as compared to what we do. And we have 164 seats, they have 180 seats. So if you do a per seat calculation, probably it's more than 20%. Cost of operation, yes, it's very high. The parts are getting very, very difficult to source because less and less shops are, overhauling those parts, or less and less manufacturers are making them. It's getting very difficult to maintain the aircraft.
Like I told you during our first conversation, I got to know about TezJet through the Airliner World interview some months back. In that article, you had mentioned that TezJet is flying the last MD-83 ever built. That's a piece of aviation history. There is a last Mad Dog sticker on the aircraft as well.
It's on the L1 door.
On the L1 door. Beyond the AvGeek appeal, is there a specific operational reason you are holding on to these Mad Dogs for the mountainous Central Asian terrain? Or is there something the MD-80 series does in high altitude Bishkek that modern 737s or A320s simply cannot match?
No, that's not the reason actually, because all sorts of aircraft land over here except for ATRs. ATR cannot do, they don't have the performance to match over here. So every single aircraft, a 747 or a 777, a 330, and 737, 320s, all of them land. That's not the reason. So when I was during my transition phase from India to Kyrgyzstan, my first mandate was to do a fleet renewal. So we were going for a 737-800 NG or a 320 CEO. When I joined, call it my bad luck or bad timing, that is the same time a few weeks before the powder metal issue came, and worldwide the fleet started getting grounded left, right, and center. Now the problem was a 320 with a 15-year vintage, which earlier lessors would actually call me and request me, saying that, hey, I've got a 320 coming out of lease. Will you please take it? for $120,000 because there are no takers for it. It's in the third run already, the engine. Guess what? Now they have 10 offers for that. I have had instances where airline 3, 4 sister ships were coming out of lease, 15-year, 18-year-old aircraft. They just rolled over the leases. They just rolled it over for another 8 years. They said, you know what? I'm not going to get a replacement for this aircraft, so I'm going to keep that. So now the long and short of the story, the aircraft market dried out completely. Now, because of which we had to look for a meaningful way to secure an asset and continue flying. Can I get a 320 now? Most certainly, yes. Can I get it at a meaningful price? Certainly not. Certainly not. I mean, I've had ridiculous offers for 320 aircraft, which I ended up saying no. I have a couple of them sitting on my desk now. But the pricing with that, at that price, I'm not going to make money. So what we did was I flew down to US, went to Roswell, New Mexico, in the desert where hundreds and thousands of aircraft are parked, went looking for aircraft, literally like you go to a supermarket and you say, can I see this? Can I see that types? Literally, not exactly like that, but somewhat. You get the idea. And so went into a lot of aircraft, saw some MDs, and I was like, okay, why? So I had a list of around 36 aircraft that were there, ex-American Airlines and Allegiant. I picked this one up because this was the youngest. I did not think of the marketing or the branding value that it got us later on, but I picked it up purely because the aircraft was in very, very nice condition. It was very well preserved. American Airlines had done a fantastic job maintaining it. We were very happy with the condition of the aircraft for this vintage. And it was in airworthy condition. It performed the last flight and then it flew to Roswell for getting parked over there. So aircraft had no accident, incident history and all that stuff. So we did a technical due diligence also of the aircraft and we acquired it. So it is not because of operational reason, it's because of the current market conditions that we were compelled to look for alternate modes of acquiring an aircraft.
Pratt has been saying the peak of engine issues is behind them. Things are getting resolved at a faster pace now. I think Indigo the other day mentioned that they expect their grounded aircraft to be airborne within the next 8-10 months or so. So one can expect engine issues, subsiding over the next 8 to 10 months or a year, maybe. Would that be an opportunity for you to go shopping?
I would take with a pinch of salt what Pratt says. If you talk to Pratt, I just had lunch with somebody from Pratt in Dubai, right a day before the air show. And if you talk to them, with all due respect, if I'm Pratt and Whitney, I'll say, oh, everything is fine. No problem. Brother, you come tomorrow, everything will be fine. I mean, come on, Vishal, if you're working for Pratt, what will you say? Right? Are you going to say that, no, there's more problem that's going to come? That's not going to happen. In 2006, 2007, we saw the ceramic loss in the V2500 engine. They said, yeah, we're going to fix. Pratt and Whitney made millionaires very, very fast. I mean, they were billionaires earlier, and they got reduced to millionaires because of the Pratt and Whitney engine, with my ex-former boss being one of them. Yeah. So if you tell me that in 6 months they're going to fix everything, no. That problem is not going to go away entirely. That is not going to happen. What they're going to do is, yes, has the condition improved? Most certainly, yes. Will they fix Indigo engine? Indigo is a giant. They will bend over backwards to accommodate them. Because now Indigo, please understand, it is in Pratt & Whitney's interest to make sure that Indigo's aircraft are fixed because they have started switching from Pratt engines to LEAP engines. Yeah. If they change 500 aircraft, sir, from Pratt to LEAP, that's 1,000 engines gone straight away. Plus, in the entire lifespan of the aircraft of, let's say, 20 years, plus 3 overhauls gone, or 4 overhauls gone, depending. So that's 4,000 engines gone. That's a lot of business. Now multiply that with $6 million a pop, 4,000, you get your answer. So it is in Pratt's best interest. So the long and short of the story, the problem is not going to get resolved 100%. If it'll get resolved, it'll get resolved for the big guys. People like us the pressure will always be on people like us. When recession comes or when inflation comes, it's not a billionaire sitting in Mumbai gets all the heat that Mukesh Ambani says, "अरे आज दाल कैसे खरीदा यार 10% रेट बढ़ गया." नहीं, वो नीचे वाले को होता है भाई. So we have to think about ourselves. A
Yeah,
grocer will take care of Mr. Ambani.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
Indigo is the Mukesh Ambani of aviation right now.
Absolutely, and of course, if Indigo switches and Marseille, it also gives them a massive amount of negative PR around the world. So it's
They
not just
already have.
Indigo's loss of business; it is
Yep.
also the perpetual loss of business from other places who might think, ah, Indigo is switching. What they might have found. So, yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to that piece, the airliner world piece, one more time, Arun. I was struck by this fascinating contrast. So, you're flying classic jets, yet you're using cutting edge AI pricing tools like RateGain on the back end, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and and you did say that you were investing on technology some time
Yes.
back. Is that the
Yes.
secret sauce? Using vintage hardware to keep fixed costs low and modern software to maximize yield. How do you balance these two worlds? This is very fascinating.
No, so in an ideal world, I would want to have a cutting edge aircraft with cutting edge technology. Now, unfortunately, I am not at the luxury to have a aircraft which has got fly by wire technology or a newer aircraft, next gen aircraft, and things like that fitted with fancy engines. I unfortunately cannot stretch myself thin to get expensive equipment. But what is in my hand right now is to have a technological advancement to do better distribution of my product, to keep an eye on my competition much better, to match the pricing and to make sure that the end consumer gets the product at a cheaper price, to make sure whatever part of the world you're sitting in, you're able to access my inventory through GDS. Yeah. So we are available on GDS through Han Air. And no matter where you are sitting in the world, you can go to an ITA agency and buy our tickets. We are the only airlines in the country and one of the only 2, 3 airlines in whole of Central Asia, where if you go to Google Flights, our flights with pricing and availability shows and it's deep linked over there. None of the other airlines are there. So you go to Google Flight and when you say purchase ticket, it'll throw you back on my website. Yeah. So we have invested quite a lot of time and energy and effort into that technology, and it is not money wasted. We have reaped the benefits of it. To give you an example, my year over year increase in RASK is from the range of lower one market, a particular market I wouldn't name which one, is 7% November of last year versus November of this year. I've got a RASK increase of 7%. In another market, I've got a 16% RASK increase. And one market, I've got a 175% RASK increase year over year. So that's what technology has done for us. It's delivered very well. We are very happy with it. Now we have just completed an evaluation. In fact, the team from the consultants from Paris were here. We just finished with them yesterday. Now we are looking at year 2026 and 2027 because I have got a double-digit RASK increase last year versus this year. Can I sustain this kind of growth? Well, not 175%, but if I get a 10% as a CEO, I'm very happy because I'm outpacing the inflation. So there is if you ask me, summary to the whole thing, do I want to have a better aircraft? Yes. Can I get it in meaningful price? No, I cannot. So what do? I make the best use of my resources that are available in my hand. And I also at the same time do not stop the other work, invest in technology and make the best out of it. It's not only with selling and distribution, we also invested into, let's say, camo software we just implemented. I'm looking at a flight safety software, a flight data recording software, a flight operations. We have automated a lot of stuff. So it's not only with one commercial department, but overall.
The India Kyrgyzstan corridor, like you were talking about earlier, is dominated by medical students and traders. Are you looking to expand that demographic? Specifically, how do you plan to sell Kyrgyzstan as a leisure destination to the average Indian tourist who might only be looking at a Dubai or a Thailand? And of course, these are completely different markets. But how do you plan to appeal to Indians?
If you remember, Vishal, when we were growing up, our holiday, I mean, you seem to be much younger, you're like probably in 30s. And but if you ask your dad, the only holiday that we remembered was packing our bags, going to uncle's house and stay there in summer vacation for 1 month. Now, this all changed, 15, 20 years ago, especially when this movie Three Idiots came. Indians have become very avid travelers now. And plus, with the rise in income, we started exploring a lot of countries. Now, going to Thailand is fine. It's fine. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love Thailand. Not for the reasons you would want to believe, but I've lived in that region. I'm very well traveled by road. They are very, very nice and very beautiful places in that entire region. So going to Paris, London is no longer in the people's hot wish list anymore. People want to go to exotic places. People want to go to new places where they have not experienced that cuisine, that culture, the music, the landscape, and all that stuff. So 2 years ago, all of a sudden there is this new wave of people that came in, and I'm talking to friends, and they're saying, "Where are you going for vacation?" Baku. Why? Oh, just like that. So every second person started going to Azerbaijan. Then there is an entire Tbilisi thing started. Yeah. This region has a lot to offer. The landscape, if you see over here, is stunning, absolutely stunning. So you have canyons, you have one of the biggest lakes in the whole world, you have stunning mountains, you have very, very good lush fields over here. This region has a lot to offer. So we are trying to promote Kyrgyzstan as a destination to the Indian travelers. For that, we have invited a couple of dozen influencers as well on Instagram and everything. I'm not on Instagram, so I don't follow them. But yes, we have invited them. So I said, you please have your independent view of it. We are sending some of them to Moscow as well on our flight, saying that you please go check the Russian market out. Please go check over here. We are booking tours for them. You go look at the hot springs, you go look at the lake, you go look at the mountains, you go see what is in the offering in Bishkek and around area. You go look at point of interest. Bunch of them, we are taking them to the shooting range so that they can fire Kalashnikov. So, so yeah. So if they like it and they approve of it, if they make people aware, people will come certainly. It's just that awareness is not there. You ask an Indian, differentiate between Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan and Tajikistan for that matter.
Absolutely right. Now, operating into Delhi comes with its own set of slot and cost challenges. Coming from a background of managing regional connectivity in India, how different was the experience of negotiating slots at a major hub like Delhi for an international foreign carrier compared to a domestic regional startup?
Obtaining slots in India is not a problem. Unless you are in Mumbai, you get easily. People are fairly cooperative, and the airport over there is privately held, so we just have to talk to their team, and they do the job fairly easily. And DGCA, we know people. These are the same set of people that we were dealing with when we were in India versus here, and the things have improved quite significantly in the past several years. So obtaining slot was not a problem at all. However, the application process for obtaining an operating permit in India was a long process. So to give an example, we launched Moscow in on October 21st. We thought about starting to Moscow only in June. And in 2 months, we launched the flight. The first flight took place. Compare that to India, I started the process last year, somewhere early last year, to launch a flight, and the flight is only taking off in December this year. To get an NV note from here, you have to get this letter from here, that letter from there. Then you have to write a security program. You have to hire a CSO. Then there is this compliance, that compliance. Yesterday, I was sitting and filling up for a PAN card. I mean, so many regulations. It's just mind-boggling.
Were you able to get the time slots that you wanted in Delhi, or you had to compromise a bit?
Yes, yes. A little bit compromise everywhere you have to do, but we are happy with what we got.
Okay.
DGC was helpful, Airport Authority was helpful, the airport was helpful. They're fine.
All right. How are you competing against connections through Moscow, Istanbul, or Tashkent, or even Almaty? A Delhi Bishkek direct flight via MD-83 will take around 3 hours or so, right? What's your value proposition versus connecting flights that might be cheaper? Will your pricing be attractive enough for flyers?
So the cheaper route that you're talking about is actually not that cheap also. Now, if I recently I traveled to India last week or last to last week, I was in India. So to take the flight, I had to go to Almaty. Then from Almaty, I had to take a connecting flight, and it was not cheap by any means. An economy ticket would have been around $250 one way. Business was obviously much more. Now here we sell tickets from Bishkek to New Delhi for under $200, and it's a shorter flight. The other option, a lot of students do that. Border is just 3 hours away from here, from Kazakhstan, the Kazakh border. Not 3 hours, actually, 1.5 hours. And in 5 hours, I'll be at Almaty Airport. So you take a car, you go to the border, then you cross the land border by foot. Then on the other side, you take a cab, and then you go or sit in a bus. I normally have my driver and he drives me all the way through. But that's a lot of time that you have to spend and effort in order to make it to the flight. So the travel time from door to door reduces significantly if you go by a direct flight. Absolutely no brainer. I have met students in Tashkent and some in Dubai who were taking flights via Dubai and via Tashkent and via Almaty to reach India. So that travel time we are going to reduce significantly, and that too without any premium. I'm still offering you the services under what your cost was. Ticket is only one part of it, sir. To get to Tashkent or to Almaty is an additional cost. That also you have to factor in.
Right.
Yeah, even if you're going by road, you have to eat something, you have to drink something, you have to use a cab or a bus or something. So, I mean, you're not going to, you're just not going to transport over there, a teleport over there, let me put it that way. So the overall travel time from door to door, we are going to reduce. And also the uh, cost of the entire travel is also going to come down.
How is the overall aviation market in Kyrgyzstan, especially compared to other Central Asian countries? Indigo has been flying to most CIS markets, but they haven't explored Kyrgyzstan yet. Do you see them launching into your market soon?
So Indigo has entered Kazakh market, Uzbekistan market, and they also have traffic rights to Kyrgyzstan, to Kyrgyz Republic in Bishkek. Now, Indigo had plans to operate flights over here, but after the skirmish between India and Pakistan, the Pakistani airspace is closed for Indian carriers and vice versa. So, Indigo is now not operating direct flights to Almaty also, for that matter. They had double daily, by the way. Yeah. And so what has happened is, because of which they could not launch flights to Bishkek, but sooner than later they will come, or probably they'll come later, but one day certainly they will also start. You spoke about how's the aviation market in whole of Central Asia. In early 2000 or mid 2000, the entire region was blacklisted by EU. Every single country. Now, they don't blacklist the country per se, EU or AFA. What they do is they say all airlines from country A are blacklisted, which by default means the entire country is blacklisted. When we have to come out of blacklist, airline by airline has to come out. The ban is not lifted blanket. So Kazaki market was the first one where Air Astana got out of the blacklist. Now the aviation ecosystem over here was in very very formative stages, what India used to be in 80s and 90s, early 90s. They are developing very, very fast. They are hiring external consultant. IATA is very deeply involved in the region. IOSA is very deeply involved in the region. They make frequent trips. I've had several rounds of meeting with IATA and IOSA for improving the safety standards, changing regulations. The regulator here, the Civil Aviation, is reviewing the regulation. They have issued a new air code. They are making the oversight audit mechanism and everything more and more strict. They have revised a lot of regulations. I personally had a lot of meetings with the top bosses in the civil aviation, gave my recommendation as to how to improve the safety standards and the oversight mechanism in the country. So the region as a whole, Uzbekistan is doing fairly well. They also had a lot of external help and they are improving a lot of the regulations. Kazakhstan also did the same thing. And in fact, in Kyrgyzstan, in Kyrgyz Republic also, they are improving the safety standards. Are we there yet? No. Will we get there? Yes, in a couple of years' time. So the government is putting a lot of effort pushing the regulators and the airline to come out of the safety list of EU. So the effort is in the right direction. I'm not sure when are we going to see the final result, but we'll get there one day.
Do you think you will be able to compete with Indigo effectively when and if they finally decide to launch into Bishkek? Or would you be more excited about Indigo's launch bringing more awareness for the market and increasing the demand pie for all players, including yourself?
No, so Indigo coming in, I take it as a positive sign because when Indigo comes in, they'll come with all guns blazing. I mean, they are not going to deploy. Indigo does not have the mindset of operating one flight a week or two flights a week. They will not enter that market. If they are entering the market, they will jolly well make sure that this entire destination is made popular uh, and there is huge amount of traffic that comes in. Otherwise, they're not going to waste their time. So when they come in, they will make sure that this entire place is made popular amongst Indian travelers. So the job I'm trying to do, they'll do the heavy lifting. And in that case, as you said, I'm not focused at the angle of the pie. I'm focused at the diameter of the pie. I'm happy having 10% of a huge pie rather than having 50% of a very, very small pie.
And hopefully that would make your Delhi operations profitable as well, Arun. Are you looking at other Indian cities for expansion?
Not at the moment.
Is that due to lack of aircraft at your end, or you're not seeing the right business case?
Right now, there is not enough traffic, to be honest. Everybody uses Delhi as a gateway from India to travel into Kyrgyz Republic. Now, once when the destination becomes popular as a tourist destination, there is a lot of activities one can do. We can certainly look at adding flights to Mumbai, but then we do not have this is not the right time for us. We do not want to expose ourselves on a 5 hour flight on an MD aircraft. I would rather have a equipment that passengers are more comfortable sitting. Don't get me wrong, MD is a great aircraft. You love sitting on it. It- it's very comfortable, very quiet. But then I want to have more reliability. My dispatch reliability also has to be higher.
What kind of dispatch reliability you have right now, if you can share?
Right now, we have 99.9%.
That's
Technical dispatch
fantastic.
reliability is 99.9%. But, it comes with a but. But my aircraft utilization per day is around 6 to 7 hours. If I stretch it to 10, 11, my dispatch reliability will go down massively.
So the aircraft which would serve Delhi would only do Bishkek, Delhi, Delhi, Bishkek.
Yeah. And on the other days, it will fly to Moscow.
All right. What is your fleet plan and network plan looking into the next 3 to 5 years?
So we are working on some fleet renewal. It's too premature for me to announce it or share with you at this point in time. Hopefully, when we connect again, next time probably I'll have some good news to share with you. But yes, we are actively looking at all the options available in the market, which includes things like your 320, a 737-800 NG, or even an Embraer 190 E1 or a 195 E1, which is a very expensive aircraft, if you ask me, but beautiful aircraft. I actually had one of the Royal Jordanian aircraft. I just did a static, it was on a static display, so I had a little nickel tour of it in Dubai last week.
And what about your friends over at Comac? Would you be considering their aircraft? I know their avionics and propulsion is still being figured out, but do you think you can get a good deal out of them?
Interesting question. I just met the Comac people. Very interesting question. Now, whether it's a Comac or the Sukhoi jet or whatever, see, most of these aircraft, they use the same avionics, same landing gear, same standard seats that are being manufactured by the same OEM, and same engines. It's either Pratt and Whitney or LEAP. What more do you get? I mean, you go to Rolls Royce or GE or Pratt and Whitney, or where else do you go, depending upon what aircraft you're operating? It's only that you take all these things and you make a Frankenstein aircraft or Lego the entire aircraft, put your sticker. That's what everybody is doing now. What else are they doing? What does Airbus manufacture? Nothing. What does Boeing manufacture? Nothing. They're buying stuff from everywhere, putting everything together, Legoing everything. They got a TCDS approved by FAA and EASA and Transport Canada, and selling the aircraft as their own product. If you look at it oversimplistically, this is how it works, right? The problem with Comac is, and I hope that they can sell the aircraft. The problem is EASA and FAA have not given a TCDS, a type certification data sheet. So it is not certified by EASA and FAA. Now, if it is not certified by EASA and FAA, I can take the aircraft, I can get a LOTA done here. A LOTA is letter of type acceptance from my local civil aviation, but then I can only fly domestically.
Or you can maybe fly to the Chinese market or the
That
Russian
that's a,
market, or
yeah, but
and there's plenty of
no, but even Russia has not
potential.
issued a letter of type acceptance. All right, India has not issued it. So how do I fly to India? How do I fly to Dubai? How do I fly to Tashkent? I cannot do that. Now, if they don't get a TCDS approved, then the aircraft is not as valuable to me or uh, as useful to me as it would have been. That is what is tying everybody's hand behind their back. Now, how soon will they get EASA and FAA LOTA or TCDS? Anybody's guess. I mean, if I were the American government, I would never give it to them because it will kill my duopoly. And
Yeah,
it'll take away tens of thousands of jobs from US.
yeah,
Same in the case of Europe. I mean, the unemployment rate in France and UK is going to go higher if Comac comes in.
absolutely. The European low cost carriers will start negotiating with Airbus, like squeezing them like this, the Ryanairs and the EasyJets of the world. Uh,
Oh, that is one part of the problem.
yeah,
The other is, let's say they don't do that. They are very well behaved. The entire order from Chinese airline is going to come to a standstill. Entire South Asia is going to move in. You talk about Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia,
Laos,
Philippines,
all those
Vietnam,
all those.
Laos, everywhere, everything
Yeah.
gone. So, and a part of India also will jump into the bandwagon. So the problem is more complex than what we think it is.
Right. On that, the Indian government talks a lot about its look east policy. As someone now sitting in Bishkek, do you think Indian carriers are underestimating the look north potential? I know we just discussed Indigo's extensive flying in the region, but what about other carriers?
Nobody else is exploring it. That's the sad part. There are
Besides Indigo?
fantastic. Besides Indigo, nobody else is exploring it. That's the sad part. I mean, there are fantastic places they can fly to.
With Air India, there is a problem of metal. There is only so much they have available between retrofits and their existing routes, along with some new ones just opened. Akasa has issues with jet deliveries as well, and SpiceJet deserves a standalone episode on its issues. I think Air India opening CIS also depends on whether they want to open new stations or increase frequencies to their existing routes.
Well, that's for them to really evaluate and answer. But since you asked me, I think there is bigger potential in increasing for travel between Central Asian region and Eastern Europe and with India. Then we are already exploring or trying. So there is a bigger potential, as you rightly said.
So between Central Asia, Europe, and India, what do you mean? So you picking up people, let's say from Moscow, and getting them to India via your hub? Is that what you're saying, or something else?
No, no, sorry, I did not probably say it correctly. So there is bigger potential between India or South Asia as whole and Central Asia. So the frequency can increase, the trade and travel can increase much more. See, for thousands of years, that's how people moved, through the Silk Route. There is a natural travel and trade that took place between the region. It's just that now, after invent of new technology and fancy aircraft, somehow there is a disconnect between the region.
Yeah, so what you're saying is, let's say an airline picks up people from Bishkek, gets them to Delhi. From Delhi, some of those can travel forward to Colombo, some to
Correct,
Dhaka, some to
correct,
Myanmar, some to,
correct.
Bangkok, etc.,
Absolutely.
etc. And then Delhi acts as a hub, and similarly, all those people come
Correct.
together at Delhi and then go to Bishkek or wherever else they want to
It's
go.
it's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, Vishal. Not one member sitting in Airports Authority of India, or not one joint secretary or a secretary sitting in Rajiv Gandhi Bhavan has thought about developing one of the airports in India as a regional hub. Look at Singapore, Changi Airport. Fantastic job done. 7 million population, more than that, you have travelers. Look at Dubai. I mean, how many there are? Look at, I was very impressed by Istanbul. I'm very, very impressed by Istanbul. Awesome job done. How many people who go to Turkey actually get down at Turkey? They take a connecting flight, they fly out. The ease of connection is fantastic. We have a geographic advantage of being the gateway to South Asia. Why go far? I've lived in Sri Lanka. Look at Colombo. I have seen passengers coming flying from Delhi into Colombo to take a flight to Germany or to London. So, and they did a fantastic job, this till the time
Lankan,
that
Sri
gentleman from
Lankan,
Emirates was there.
Richard Nuttall,
Yeah, I don't remember his name. I
Richard
briefly
Nuttall,
met him
yeah.
once
Yeah.
during my time. So he did a fantastic job in developing that airport.
Their unit economics and everything else, they filled up their plane, and not just for Europe but more so for Australia. That's a natural route also, from Delhi to
Yeah,
Colombo to then
correct.
to Australia.
Correct. So all I'm saying is, India, why can't we think about developing, let's say, a Zevar or a New Delhi or a Navi Mumbai, one of those airports, saying that we will get the passengers and discharge, will uplift the passengers from different places and discharge them to different locations.
Having led an Udan airline, you know the ground reality better than anyone. If you could change one policy regarding India's regional connectivity scheme to make it more sustainable without indefinite subsidies, what would it be?
Actually, one medicine is not going to treat the aviation ecosystem in India. It's a much longer discussion. You asked a very specific question about Udan. 80% of my revenues in when I was running an airline, both in IndiaOne Air and Air Deccan, used to come from subsidy from in terms of VGF. Okay. So, and the airline survived because of that. But what I'm going to tell you may actually surprise you. I think that scheme is absolutely useless. Yeah. I'm sorry for being so blunt. I'll draw an analogy. Okay. If I am the government, I'm a state government, I will put, if I'm a chief minister, I'll put all my focus on constructing a nice state highway. Okay. If I make the nice state highway with interconnecting roads, that, the feeder roads that are coming in, if I at regular intervals, I have gas stations and facilitation places, I make provisions for them. Let private enterprise come and start their business over there. If I put my safety norms and oversight mechanism into place, one Vishal Mehta may come and buy a truck and start a transport business. I should spend my money, taxpayers' money, in creating infrastructure. Now, if I don't create infrastructure and I just come to you and say that here is 2 lakh rupees, please buy yourself a truck, or you run a truck, I will give you subsidy, but there are no roads to operate them. What good is it going to do? The day I stop that check, you will go belly up. Now, to draw the comparison this to aviation, let me give you a very specific example. I started 5 airports in a short span of 10 months. How we started the airports, only I know, sir. One of the airports is called Jaipur, Jeypore. It's in Odisha. Now, the Jaipur airport had basic level problem. First of all, when I went to Jaipur, I landed in Visakhapatnam, drove 6 hours by taxi in Naxalite infested area to reach over there. Now the Naxals are not there. Those days, they were a little bit still left. When I reached at the airport and I look at the place and I was shocked. So there are basic problems that the airport had. So first, there's a runway. Right next to the runway, there is an obstacle. There is a VIP room they made. So I'm looking at that. What is that room? So somebody tells me the local accountable manager, who was a bureaucrat who was responsible for making roads in that state, was made accountable manager of the airport. I mean, to his mind, he was doing a fantastic job. He said, for CM and VIPs to come and say, that's an obstacle. DGCA is going to give you an objection on it. So they made a room for Honorable Chief Minister to come and sit there before the flight. Arey bhai, the aircraft cannot land. It's an obstacle. So I had to get that room knocked down. Literally knocked it down. DGCA did give an objection. Then they got a 3 crore fire tender over there. वो उसके पास में गया, मैं बोला भाई इसका पानी कैसे भरेगा? वो गार्डन होज ले आके खड़ा कर दिया, बोलते इससे भरेगा. What nonsense. You need overhead pipes to fill in you don't have 6 hours to fill up the tanker. So there were fundamental level problems. Then the runway is very small. So they did a land acquisition. I remember telling the topmost officers saying that, why do you have 1,000 feet runway over here? Please make a 2-kilometer runway. No, in phase 1, we'll do this. In phase 2, we'll expand. No, but the moment you made an airport here, now your real estate cost has gone 6 times. Now, the land that you could have acquired for $1, now you have to pay $4 or $6 to acquire the same land. And that too, it's not easy now, because people have started, because the airport is starting here, people have started acquiring land. Somebody will make a house, somebody will make a factory, somebody will make a shop. And to relocate those people is going to be equally painful. After spending a couple of 100 crores, and then infrastructure being not at the right place, there are lots of technical problems. There were 72 observation DGCA gave, and state government did not have one guy to close those observations and submit an ATR. ATR is action taken report. I had to deploy my own staff, sit down with DGCA, and we closed the ATR in my office. All right. So it was the effort of one organization. It was so much so that I will not name the official. I was sitting in an office in Delhi, and DGCA said, Arun ji, jadde the certificate was given to the airport. He said, Arun ji, mera bus chale na, ye certificate main aapke naam pe issue karunga. The point I'm trying to make here is that the money that we had spent on UDAN scheme, rather than that, make the infrastructure right. Make it a 2,000, 2,500 feet runway with proper navigation aid, with proper terminal building. वो terminal building बनाया, वहां पे गए 20 लोग बैठ सकते हैं. Now, tomorrow, if you want to operate with an ATR, you don't have runway length. Rather than giving handouts to operators, the focus should be on infrastructure creation. You create world-class airports with world-class infrastructure, and leave it up to operators to operate on those from those airfields, and not run and let an airline run on crutches, because all the UDAN operators are running on crutches right now. You take the crutches off, there is no organic growth that has been created, and the entire math will fall off.
You have worked with a variety of aircraft throughout your career, Arun. You've worked with, of course, Cessnas, ATRs, 737s, now with MDs, even with 320s.
These 330s, 340s, 380s, 319s, all it,
380s?
and I've worked with.
Where were 380s? I know Kingfisher ordered, but
yeah. So I was doing the evaluation of the aircraft, and I was involved in that deal as well.
that would have been a wild scenario, isn't it? Help us understand, what was Vijay Mallya thinking when he initially committed for, I think, 5 A380s in 2005 and doubled those in 2008. What was the network plan for Kingfisher Airlines A380s, Arun?
me look at my folder. Of course, I do recall. Let me look at my folder.
Was the base supposed to be Delhi or Bangalore or Mumbai?
Good question. I don't remember, but April 2008. So we had an Bombay SFO, India SFO analysis that we did. Bombay, London, Bombay, Bombay, Chicago, Bombay, New York, Bombay, Shanghai SFO, Bombay, Hong Kong SFO, Delhi, Hong Kong SFO, Delhi, Hong Kong SFO, Delhi, Shanghai SFO, Bombay, Dubai, Bombay, Delhi, Dubai, Delhi.
Delhi Shanghai SFO was done by Jet.
No, we had done the evaluation for operating. Of course, the aircraft never saw the light of the day.
Sorry, no, Mumbai Shanghai SFO was done by Jet, if I recall correctly.
Yes, yes. So we had evaluated all the routes. So the bases were Bombay and Delhi, and we looked at flights to London out of Mumbai. Then we also looked at Bombay, Chicago, Bombay non-stop, a Delhi, JFK, Delhi, a Bombay to SFO via Shanghai and via Hong Kong, and same from Delhi to SFO via Shanghai and Hong Kong, and flights to Dubai both from Mumbai and Delhi.
And the Airbus executives would have worked with you in figuring out these routes.
Yeah, it's a joint effort. When you do a
So
performance analysis,
John Leahy was the
John
guy.
Leahy, John Leahy and Kiran Rao were there. Yes, you're absolutely right. And there was another gentleman. My counterpart was Miodrag Rankovic. So he is the sales director, customer service director. He's retired now. And I worked with him in Toulouse. We undertook different iterations with different assumptions, with different seating capacity, different LOPA and weights, and so on and so forth. So there are a couple of hundred different simulations were done. I don't recall as to what was the final decision where to operate, but yes, we ran the numbers on all these sectors.
Very, very interesting. And I'll come back to the original question. Which were your favorite aircraft to work with from a again from an unit economics point of view and reliability point of view, Arun?
The most challenging, I will tell you, from you to make the math work was a 340 500 and yes, and Cessna Grand Caravan. Very difficult aircraft. You don't get the numbers right over there at all.
Curious, like why did Kingfisher order the 340s? Like I don't think any of your routes needed a 340, right?
Well, none of the routes made sense on paper. None of them. And if I tell you the story how it was ordered, you will have a good laugh. I was having lunch with Dr. Mallya in London in a small British, those
Pub,
English pubs.
pub,
Yeah,
yeah.
the English pubs. Yeah, very modest place for his standard. Apparently, he loved it from his college days. And over the lunch, he gets a call, and I'm sitting right in front of him, and there are two, three other people on the table. And then there is a lady who came from a letting agency, and she was showing brochures of some house, very nice houses. So he picked up a house for 10 million or of some obscene amount of money, pounds. And he gets a call, and he was like, yeah, fine. I don't know what the conversation from the other side was. Till date, I don't know. And he says, okay, fine. 5 firm, 5 option. I'll send my boy Arun to Toulouse. He'll fly down to France right now. And then he keeps the phone. He says, I just ordered 500, 5 firm, 5 option. You go to Toulouse and do a full-blown evaluation. So what's the point of an evaluation? I mean, you're taking a test drive of a car after purchasing the car. What am I going to do now? So that's how it was ordered. I flew down there. I mean, they took me out for nice dinner, nice lunches, Airbus guys, but that's the history.
So there was no feasibility or like
Study
thought
done.
applied
Nope,
to why
nope,
we need a 340. I mean, when the
nope,
330 could do the same job, why do we
nope,
need a 340?
nope. Nothing was done. That cost of the lunch was $400 million. Actually, more than $500 million lunch. Now that I remember, it was $110 million per unit, the negotiated price. So $550 million was the lunch. One good decision that Kingfisher took in 2008 subprime crisis, I made a business case. We'd already made some PDP. I said, look, let's get rid of this aircraft. We surrendered our position then. That was a good decision that was taken. by Dr. Mallya, to his credit. And we rolled over the PDP deposits to some other aircraft, I think 320 or 330, something like that.
And which aircraft were a dream to work on?
The good aircrafts to work on were 320, always a pleasure to work on the economics of 320 and a 737-800. The math just works out perfect over there. If you don't do anything stupid, it just works out beautifully.
What do you think of the XLR, by the way? From a long and thin perspective, especially for a market like yours, which would not necessarily have heavy traffic all the time, a long and thin aircraft like the XLR can theoretically work, right? I mean, it's probably the best possible successor to the 757.
Possibly, yes, but then we have to look at into perspective of market. In India, I think it will work beautifully well. India has huge amount of traffic, and we have grown on the last 50 years. We have grown at the compounded annual growth rate of 7.4%, 7.5% from 1970 till 2024. So that's a phenomenal, sustained long-term growth. So in India, it can make sense. Definitely.
And my final question to you, Arun. You are known for sharing brutally honest takes on aviation. What's one opinion you hold about Indian aviation that you know is contrarian and most people would disagree with?
Very easy to say. Indian airports are runways are graveyard for Indian Airlines. I would say no. Promoters of airline create a lot of wealth. It's the boardroom of the airlines that are graveyard for Indian Airlines. It's the decisions that are taken in the boardroom that drive the airline down to the ground. On the contrary, if you look at the return on capital deployed in aviation in India is absolutely fantastic. To give you an example, Jet Airways was started with a paid up capital of 112, 114 crores. It generated thousands of crores of profit during its lifespan. The valuation on the stock market for 110 crores or 12 crores of paid up capital, the market capitalization once in of Jet Airways was 100x. 100x, sir. You pick up a recent example. The cash and cash equivalents of Indigo is 20,000 crores. Airline was started with 400 odd crores, 380 crores or something like that. Even now, the paid up capital is that. The company is valued at over 23 billion US dollar. The X factor over there for capital deployed is 500x. Look at Akasa, again 120 odd crore paid up capital. Premji invested $100 million at a significant minority. It has got an X factor of more than 30x or 40x in 4 years' time. Look at a cargo carrier called AFCOM. You may not have heard about them. $200 million valuation with one aircraft. So the promoters have made a lot of money. You talk about Air Sahara, sold at a profit. Talk about Air Deccan, sold at 18x profit in 4 years' time. 18x, I'm talking about those days when Indian stock market was not as robust as now. And the stock market was trading at a PE of 10, 15 multiple. Right now it's 20 to 23, but then also it gave 18x return. You talk about a lot of failures in airline. Well, out of the 10, 12 airlines that we have, 3 or 4 have failed in the last 10 years. Look at IT, 95% of startups fail. Restaurants, 80% of the startups fail over there. So our strike rate is much better in aviation, if you ask me. And the value creation is much, much higher. It's just that people's misadventure drives the business down to the ground, and it draws a lot of unwanted attention.
Arun, it has been a true pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you very much.
Some aviation careers chart straight lines. This one draws a constellation. Arun has survived the ups and downs, learned from the legends, and never stopped believing in the power of flight. Now, leading TezJet from Kyrgyzstan, he's proving that great aviation minds aren't bound by borders. Next Sunday, the Indian Ad Geeks episode 14 will feature Brent Ribbard, partner at Geezer. For now, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode of the Indian App Geek with your fellow app geeks. Arun is at AKS9955 on X, and you will find me everywhere as Vishal One Mehra. Happy to have your feedback. With that, keep your tray tables up, your seatbelts fastened. I wish you well, and happy flying, my friends!